Where do you see AI affecting mankind in a good or bad way? Or haven't you thought anything of it?
I'll tell you a little story now that was very, very disturbing to me. I'm a bit of a computer geek. So I bought this little single board computer and I wanted it to do a particular task that I couldn't program it to do. I tried, it just wouldn't do it. So I thought to myself, I know, Chat GPT, I'll try that. Out of desperation. So I went to Chat GPT and I put the name of the operating system I was using and I told it what it wanted to do and it came back with the code, quick as that. I put the code in and it worked.
Wow.
And I went, that's fantastic. That is amazing. That really is good. And then I went, oh no, hang on a minute. Hold it. That makes me the weakest link here. And me as in mankind now, that's not good. After that point, I got a terrible, terrible feeling in the pit of my stomach that we're giving computers the ability to outthink us. And I don't think that's good.
I think the worst part about it is the amount of information. You know what I mean? It's not even the fact that they can outthink us or not. It's just the amount of information that's gathered, you know. This is immense amount of information. And humans have never gathered this much information in our entire existence. You know what I'm saying? So you've got all of these libraries of information and all they need to be is gathered up and put into one database. That's pretty scary.
God, that's terrifying. We would never be able to know what artificial intelligence knows. Never. Not in a million years.
No.
Our brain isn't capable of that amount of information. As I said earlier on, when I find out a new piece of information, a piece falls out that end while that piece goes in that end. I can't remember everything. I've forgotten more than I know.
It's just something else. I think with technology, that's one thing that people really need to stop and start taking a more serious conversation about. You know what I mean? It's good in a sense, but then you stop and look at it, okay? It's also bad in a lot more ways, and nobody wants to have to do stuff the hard way. Don't get me wrong, you know, I mean, nobody wants to go back to driving Etzel frickin' vehicles and watching black and white television. Nobody wants to do that. But at the same time, look at it this way. You've got frickin' little bitty televisions that frickin' you can walk around with on your hand, where you just sit and watch TV at the bus station. You know what I mean? And we call that YouTube now. But nobody could ever do that before, and it's kind of like getting all this new technology and not being freaking smart enough to handle it. You know what I mean? You're getting a little bit too much too fast. Yeah. So
even with computing power, I've been messing about with computers for donkey's years, 35 years, something like that. And it was always a known thing. If you bought a computer, 3 years later, it would have doubled in speed. So that went down to 18 months after a while. And now I don't think it's even 18 months. The computers they've got now are unbelievably good. As I say, this little single board computer, if you go back 30 and it cost me, I don't know, £80 or something like that. It was a nominal fee from what it can do. When you go back 35 years, that would have been thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. And now it's almost just a throwaway. So computing power is increasing, and I don't know where this is going, because it's going somewhere. Everything's on its way to somewhere. But I think the days of us being chipped up aren't that far in advance, to be honest with you. Even if you look at Elon Musk now, he was testing and putting a chip into people's brains so that they could recall all the information like an artificial intelligence. And That's quite disturbing. That disturbs me very, very much.
I think the human race over the centuries has been reset many times.
Yeah.
Forms. And I think this is just, I don't know how long it will take, but it's going to hit another peak before long, and it's going to be a reset again.
Yeah.
I really think, and I think AI is going to be behind that somehow.
Yeah.
I'm not going because I've seen the Terminator films. I just think genuinely, I think it's going to be behind it. I think a lot of these movies, sometimes there's a bit of like the future in them. Sometimes it is like The Simpsons. We all see the little things of The Simpsons saying, "Oh, The Simpsons did this 10 years ago."
Yeah.
And I think, well, I think sometimes it's in there. It's in the films. It's in the shows. They're just giving us a glimpse of our future sometimes.
Yeah.
And so.
Even the revealing of the truth. You look at programs like the original Stargate film. It tells you what went on inside the pyramid, but it tells you in a fictional sort of fantasy world. But it actually tells you what went on, and it's exaggerated so that it doesn't quite fit in reality. But that's the gist of what went on. Yeah. And Contact with Jodie Foster, fantastic film as well. Nearer the end, she drifts off into this alternate dimension where she meets her dead father, and what they're explaining in an everyday format is dimethyltryptamine. That's what Egyptians used to. Well, they didn't know it as that. Obviously, they just knew this particular flower, the fleur de lis. It was a flower of the lily. Well, that particular flower it makes you feel good, and it gives you altered states of consciousness. So they used to take it. That was all into their altered states because of the information that was revealed to them when they was in it.
Now when it comes to Stargate too, the thing that I notice is they try to deny where they get their information from. Like they actually did this little an episode where they're saying, "Oh, we use science in this TV episode and stuff," and I'm sitting there looking at them like, "You are so full of shit." You know what I mean? Anybody who's done any kind of research into ufology, when they look at that TV series, knows exactly where they got their information. You know what I mean? And it's amazing to me that these same people puts these actors on television to try to convince people that they use just as much science as everything else. And we're not trying to push on you this ufology stuff. Well, crap, that's exactly what it is. It's like they made Apophis out to be freaking like the major bad guy all the way through the freaking TV series. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and Apophis, of course, was an alien from outer space. You know what I mean? I mean, does that sound familiar to you in any way?
Yeah. Well, I've never come across that name, but Graham Hancock, very, very, very. He's been researching this forever and a day. Very, very factual researcher as well. He started off looking at, and he was never into aliens or UFOs or anything like that at all. He was very heavily into Egypt and mythology, and the fact that we've all been here before and it's just scrubbed and started again quite a few times, as John said earlier on. Well, he went to France to look in some caves in France at some cave paintings, and he noticed in these paintings that are thousands and thousands of years old, there was a blip in the sky, and he went, it's what I would call a UFO. He said, but I'm not a UFO person. I don't do that at all. And he kept researching and researching and researching, and then he come out with something that I thought was very, very profound, and that I never thought in a million years he would say. And he went, I think a UFO is an interdimensional craft, not an extra dimensional craft. It doesn't come from out there, it's here. They were already here, and they just appear and then disappear. And I thought that was, for him to say something like that was a big step, big step, because he's not into all that at all.
Some people,
Go ahead.
Some people reckon some of the UFOs that people experience and and abductions and stuff like that is us from the future. That's what mankind's going to develop into, is what these aliens are. That's what some people say. Again, I don't know. I am not something I've really studied a great deal, but sort of can make sense, I suppose. It could make sense, isn't it? The way, because we don't know how we're going to be becoming more like entertainment orientated. We're going to become less physical beings because we don't use a physical side of us so much. So we're going to, who knows, maybe we'll become smaller as as the centuries go on, because we need to have the muscles we don't need to, because we don't use them. Because, like, as you know, with animals, they develop, don't they, over the years. Things that are no longer useful to them, they sort of eventually, over thousands of years, they're not there no more, because they don't need them. So who knows where the human race is going to go? Especially when you've got to think, we don't even have to. The way it's going, you're not going to be 1,000 years from now. You're not going to even have to go out to the door. You just do everything at home. It'll all be there. You'll be working from home. Everything will be done from home. The way it's going. In some ways, it's happening now. But 1,000 years or more, where's it going to be? If there's not another reset before then.
Well,
what you think?
I'll tell you one thing: that they're not going to be using the term work anymore. That's going to be gone.
No.
Like, people aren't going to get up to go to work. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be a burden to them.
No.
They're going to get up and wipe their chin and make sure freaking they didn't drool all over themselves when they were asleep, and then sit down to a nice kosher freaking desk, and I guarantee you that'll be the extent of their day.
Well, when I don't know if anybody's looked at Dr. Bruce Lipton. The guy's fascinating. He explains, and this is exactly the subject that he talks about. He explains how your body changes when you're in a hostile environment or a loving environment, and the changes that will go on within you. And this is evolution, exactly what John was talking about. This is evolution in its minutest form, except he's broken it down to individual cells. And he said that a cell only has, I'm trying to recall this, that the cell only has two sides to it. There's either love, which is growth, or hate, which is protection. He said, and depending on the environment that you're in, your cells in your body, every single cell will fall into one of those two categories. Normally, if you walk into a room where people hate you, you can feel it without knowing it. Or some person particularly dislikes you, in the pit of your stomach, and that means the cells of your body have now gone into a self-protection mode, and you're protecting yourself from that person. He's a fascinating man. Some of his lectures, they are a little bit long, 45 minutes to an hour. I was laying on the bed watching one on the TV, and I was dozing off like this. And then all of a sudden, right at the end of the lecture, he went pop with a sentence, and I can't even remember what the sentence was now. Bash. And I sat bolt upright, and I went, oh my God. Because it made so much sense to everything. He's a fascinating man. If you haven't had a chance to look at Bruce Lipton yet, I'd suggest you go and watch some of his lectures. They're amazing.